Starting off with 2014, I think we've got three people to really consider here. First of all, starting off with TJ Dillashaw, who would defeat Renan Barão in one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. He'd also get a title defense against Joe Soto, but Joe Soto, if we're being completely honest, it's kind of a nobody. No one really cares about him. I doubt you even know who he is. I don't even really know who the fuck he is, okay? But yeah, he had one of the biggest upsets in UFC history against Renan Barão. Came out of nowhere to win the belt. If I would compare it to any other year, even though it's not really comparable, it'd be Anderson in the same way. Anderson came up in like 2006, made his debut and was champ the same year. Obviously TJ didn't make his debut, but the guy came out of nowhere and became champ and got a title defense by the end of the year. Also, we have Donald Cowboy Cerrone to consider, who fought 5 times this year, winning all 5, and he had decent wins. He beat Barboza, he beat Jim Miller, so some really good guys to beat. Also, Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler's a weird one though, as he would lose to Johnny Hendricks at the start of this year in a very close fight that really could have gone either way, but I think most people slightly edged it towards Robbie Lawler. But he would get straight back to business. He would pick up wins against Matt Brown and Jake Ellenberger, and then he would get a rematch against Johnny Hendricks by the end of the year, which he'd actually end up winning. Now, this is a hard one, I'll be completely honest. I'm going to edge it towards TJ Dillashaw, because Robbie did lose this year, and he eventually lost to the same person, and he was champion by the end of the year. But he lost, man. He lost, and I think when it's so close like this, I think that's the type of things that we gotta consider here, okay? And the World MMA Awards gave it to Robbie Lawler, so obviously I disagree. I think Fighter of the Year was TJ Dillashaw. Now, I'm sure you can imagine who I'm going to give 2015 to, but I'm going to go over the 2 other people who I think had a say or were the closest people to getting Fighter of the Year this year. First of all, we have Dos Anjos, who defeated Anthony Pettis, dominant. He also got a title defense against Donald Cowboy Cerrone, won the lightweight title. Great year from him. Then we also have Holly Holm, who had an insane upset against Ronda Rousey, but that was it for her this year. And then we have the boy Conor McGregor, who would defeat Chad Mendes this year. Great win, okay, in a really tough fight, becoming interim champ. And then he'd knock out Jose Aldo, ending his decade-long unbeaten streak, and he'd do it in 13 seconds, becoming the biggest star the sport has ever saw. This was arguably Conor's best year. It's pretty, I mean, it's either best or second best. And for me, Conor McGregor's pretty clearly 2015 UFC Fighter of the Year, and World MMA Awards gave it to him as well, so no complaint from me there. Now, 2016 is a pretty hard year. First of all, we have Fighter of the Year from last year, Conor, who would actually lose this year. He would eventually lost though, and then he'd go on to fight Eddie Alvarez, becoming the first fighter to hold 2 UFC belts simultaneously, double championship. Then we have Bisping, who knocked out Luke Rockhold on short notice, become the middleweight champ, and he got a great win over Anderson Silva, who, listen, it wasn't prime Anderson Silva, but it was only about 2 years after he lost. It's not really about the time, no, it's more about, you know, his leg got fucking snapped off his body, but you know, he still knocks out Luke Rockhold. And then we also have Stipe, who won the heavyweight championship and defended it in the same year against Alistair Overeem. Now, World MMA Awards gave it to Conor this year, and like I said with the Robbie Lawler one, I don't like giving it to people who lost in that same year, but for me, I think Conor has a better say just because he made history in becoming double champ. So I'm going to give it to Conor, and I personally think Stipe's legacy is overrated. I will make a video about that in due time. And when it comes to Bisping, you know, the Luke Rockhold win was great, but it didn't age well. And the Anderson Silva win definitely didn't age well. So Conor, just with the asterisks of the other guys and, you know, making history, I'm going to give it to Conor. Now for 2017, we have a completely new fresh top 3 to go through, starting off with Robert Whittaker, who this year won the interim middleweight title, which really was the real title because Bisping and GSP were holding the division completely fucking hostage, okay? People don't call out Bisping for that. He was literally doing what John's doing right now. Fuck that. But then we also had DJ, who defended his title twice and broke the record for most title defenses. But you know, it's flyweight, respectfully, you know what I'm saying? And then we also had Holloway, who unified the featherweight titles by defeating Jose Aldo twice. Now the World MMA Awards gave this year to Max Holloway, and I'm inclined to agree. I don't really think this is the most competitive year. I think it's Holloway by far, and considering he's the only guy here who, well, DJ already had the belt, so he couldn't fucking win it, but Robert won the interim, and Max defeated Jose, who in my opinion is the 4th best fighter of all time. So I think your 2017 fighter of the year is Max Holloway. I agree with World MMA Awards. Now for 2018, the 3 names that we have are Amanda Nunes, who knocked out Chris Cyborg to become the first woman to hold 2 belts simultaneously. She also got a win over Pennington, so, you know, who's a champ now, but she's not a fucking champ, let's be real, that shit don't count. She never would have even got close to it. She's terrible. Fuck you. Fuck you. Okay, my bad. Then we also have Khabib, who won the UFC lightweight title and defended it against Conor. Obviously, insane fight, great win. Wasn't prime Conor, but still a great win. The Ally Quinter wins whatever. You know, people try to say like Ally Quinter did well in that fight. No, he fucking didn't. He got beat up. He lost every round. But then we also have DC, who beat Stipe and beat Derek Lewis to become the 2nd fighter in UFC history to hold 2 belts at the same time. Now for me, it's between Khabib and DC, and I'm going to give it DC. I think Stipe is higher all time than Conor. I think Derek Lewis is a better winner than Ally Quinter, considering he also made history by being the 2nd guy to hold 2 UFC belts at the same time. I think he's your fighter of the year of 2018, and World MMA Awards think the exact same thing as me. Now 2019, the first name I want to go over is Henry Cejudo, who captured the bantamweight title, becoming a 2-division champ. He beat TJ in this year, but there's some asterisks on that win. Yes, TJ was on EPO, but he was also drained half to death. And Marlon Moraes is a win that did not age well at all. That win aged terribly. My voice keeps on going as well. Fuck. But we also have Masvidal, knocked out Ben Askren, fastest KO in UFC history. Beat Diaz the fuck up. Knocked out Darren Till. Masvidal had a great year. We also had Izzy, who beat Robert Whittaker, knocked him out, and had fight of the year against Kelvin Gastelum. Now, for me, this is definitely between Jorge and Izzy. Now, I don't know if Izzy's having a fight of the year is a good thing or not. Like, he struggled. Like, he struggled against Kelvin. That was a really hard fight for him. And yeah, fight of the year, but does that bring him down? You know, Masvidal just broke records. You know what I mean? Fastest knockout of all time. Masvidal dog walked everyone he fought this year. And obviously the wins weren't as good, but they were still good. They're still good wins, especially, you know, Darren Till at the time. Diaz was nowhere near as bad as he is now. Diaz has got really shit in the past few years. Ben Askren obviously was undefeated at the time. So I think this is the hardest year yet. I'm going to give it to Jorge Masvidal, but I think you could give it to Izzy. And I think your fighter of the year, 2019, could go either way. World MMA Awards gave it to Israel Adesanya. I'm giving it to Jorge, but I do not think that's a bad take at all. Now, 2020 is probably the year so far where I think it has the lowest ceiling. First of all, we have Hamzat, who obviously burst on the scene. You know, he beat Gerald Mershaw, knocked him out, beat Reece McKee, beat some other bum. But like, I'm sorry, but he literally just beat fucking bums. he like, bro, like, I'm not gonna count that for much. I'm sorry, I'm not, like, it was really impressive, but like, he literally just beat 3 bums, man. Like, that was bad. Oh shit, that was a bad voice crack. Oh, damn. Jesus, whoa. Anyway, but Reece McKee's not even UFC level. I don't remember the other guys' names. And GM Free's just a journeyman. Then we have Figgy, who beat Perez and had the most dominant performance I've personally seen in UFC history against Joseph Benavidez. Also, I should have mentioned Cody Garbrandt in 2016. Just saying. That Dominic Cruz performance is really overrated though. hot take. I'm gonna do a fucking myth video soon, and I'm gonna bring that up. I got some shit to say about that. But then we also got Yan beat Dominic Reyes, beat Corey Anderson. But for me, just because the ceiling isn't that high this year, I'm gonna give it to Kevin Holland. Won 5 fights, you know. Some of the wins have aged well, you know. Fluffy Hernandez, Buckler, both wins that have aged very well. So it wasn't with Hamzat where they were actually just like fucking bombs. Like Darren Stewart was alright, like he was bottom of the barrel UFC level, but you know, he was alright. And then you had Charles, whatever the fuck his name was. And you had Jacare as well. Jacare, another good win. So Kevin wasn't beating bums where Hamzat was. And I'm going to give you a UFC Fighter 2020 to Kevin Holland. And World MMA Awards gave it to Kamaru Usman, who I'm trying to think. That wasn't even Usman's best year, from what I remember. Next year's his best year. But yeah, anyway, I give 2020 Fighter of the Year to Kevin Holland, and I disagree with World MMA Award. Now, for 2021, there's only really 2 names that I'm considering. You can throw Rose in there, she beat Whaley twice, but for me, the 2 standouts were Charles and Kamaru. Charles beat Michael Chandler, beat Dustin, winning the lightweight belt, inspiring story. Kamaru Usman defended his belt 3 times, beat Colby, beat Gilbert Burns, beat Masvidal. I'm gonna give it Kamaru just because he had a little bit of struggle in the Gilbert Burns fight, and you know the Colby fight was really competitive, but he dominated the Masvidal fight, knocked him the fuck out. Okay, Kamaru, my boy, he's gonna get his fucking belt back. But Charles in both of his fights had some serious issues, especially in the Chandler fight. And for me, even though it's like cool, it's really cool, that brings him down. Because, you know, he took a lot of damage. And Kamaru also had more wins. I think, you know, Colby and Gilbert are better wins than Chandler. I think Poirier is better, the best win out of that either of them got. But for me, 2021 Fight of the Year is Kamaru Usman. That's what World MMA... No, they gave it to Volk. I do not give it to Volk. Volk beat TKZ and Ortega, from what I remember. I mean, yeah, Volk's to consider as well. But I think your 2021 Fight of the Year is Kamaru Usman. So I disagree with World MMA Awards. It's Usman. Meanwhile, Usman. Now, for 2022, the 3 names I got to consider are Leon, Islam, and Pereira. Leon obviously knocked out Usman this year, but just considering like he was getting his fucking ass beat for like 90% of the fight, and that fucking went on to ruin the division, by the way. Usman should have won that shit. I'm not going to give it Leon. Then Islam beat Charles. Insane win. But like his second best win was Bobby Green, which is good. But it's not Fight of the Year good. And then next up, we got the boy, Alex Pereira, which this year he would obviously become champ by knocking out Izzy, and he'd also knock out Strickland this year before knocking out Izzy. Those are 2 former champs, one of them being Izzy, who's the 2nd greatest middleweight of all time, like the 3rd best fighter in the past like 5 years. You know what I mean? So for me, 2022 was given to Leon, which I think's bullshit. Sorry, my throat is fucking up. Whoa. That sounds crazy. But I think this year's clearly Alex Pereira, and I don't even think it's close. So I disagree with what MMA Awards. My 2022 Fighter of the Year is Alex Poatan Pereira. Now, for some reason, the website I'm using doesn't have the Fighter of the Year for World MMA Awards, so I'm just going to go off who ESPN gave. ESPN gave it to Sean O'Malley, who in this year had 1 win against Aljamain Sterling, knocking him out, which, don't get me wrong, very impressive, but he is not my Fighter of the Year. Okay, for me, it's very clearly between Poatan, Alex Pereira, and Islam Makhachev. Now, Alex this year would get knocked out by Israel at the start of the year, but then he'd move up to light heavyweight, get a win over Jan Blachowicz, who beat Izzy, and then by the end of the year he was light heavyweight champ by knocking out Yuri Prochazka. Islam Makhachev, on the other hand, would have the pound for pound fight against Alexander Volkanovski, winning that fight, first fight by decision, and then knocking him out cold in the rematch. For me, I'd give Fighter of the Year to Islam Makhachev, just considering he didn't lose like Alex Pereira, and he definitely had like the better win than compared to fucking Sean O'Malley. Okay, so my 2023 Fighter of the Year is Islam Makhachev. Now 2024, I'm gonna do this quick because the year isn't even over yet. For me, it's very clearly between two people, Diego Lopez and Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira's had a fucking insane year, knocking out Yuri in a rematch, knocking out Jamal Hill, and now he's fighting Killer Roundtree, who everyone's assuming he's gonna knock the fuck out. I am assuming he's gonna knock him the fuck out. And then we have Diego Lopez, who just fucking knocked out Sadiq Youssef and then beat the fuck out Brian Ortega. Okay, but I'm gonna have, listen, Diego Lopez is like my top 5 favorite fighters. Has been since the Everworth fight. But I'm gonna go with Pereira just because of who he's beaten. You know, he's the champ and all that. So for me, 2024 Fight of the Year is Alex Poatan Pereira. And yeah, man, that's it. I'm done. I'm out. I've said everything. Like, subscribe, do all that. Enjoy the rest of your day. Say your opinions down in the comment section below. I'm out in a bit.